Heather Mcdonald has got the juiciest scoop. When you're on the road, when you're on the go, Juicy Scoop is the show to know. She talks Hollywood tales, her real life Mr. Segment serial data and serial sister. You'll be addicted and addicted fast to the #1 tabloid real life podcast. Listen in, listen up. Whoop whoop. Heather Mcdonald, Juicy Scoop.
Hello and welcome to Juicy Scoop. I have a real delight, a podcaster queen from the Lady Gang, Keltie Knight. Welcome to Juicy Scoop. I know you came on once before, correct?
I came on very early when we were the only two podcasts that existed for females, and our only advertisers were like cars and beer because no female True Car. No women brands advertised our podcast because there were no female podcasters. So like, we look fucking great.
We're pioneers.
We did
still at it.
You're welcome. You're welcome, everyone who started a podcast in the last decade.
Thank
Heather
you.
and I would like, please give us our residuals.
I remember we met at a gifting suite. We met at a gifting suite, which also don't exist anymore.
God damn it.
And it was, maybe it wasn't. No, it was you and one
Jack
of your
and
co-hosts.
Becca.
Yeah, it was one of your co-hosts.
Yeah.
And you're like, we're at the same podcast company too, and we listened to yours, and yes.
Yeah.
And then, and I remember once we talked on the phone about like merch and stuff.
Well, and
you're
deals.
wearing your merch.
I mean, what a fucking psychopath. But you know what? I know, listen, I'm not an idiot, Heather Mcdonald. I know how popular this show is because I look at the charts every week and I see that you are very high up on the charts and have way more fans than Lady Gang. So I'm not a fucking idiot. I am going to wear my sweatshirt and make sure everyone knows that there's a second podcast you could tune into if you like, if you don't have enough Juicy Scoop in your life.
I like your Lady Gang sweatshirt.
University.
Lady Gang University. Very cute. Very cute.
It's like you go to university and you learn about like yeast infections, getting out of the dick sand, and like negotiating a higher pay.
What does the dick sand mean?
The dick sand's like when a girl is like she's in a sexual relationship with someone that she thinks is like gonna end up in a real relationship, or it's just sex, or it's messy, and like she's blinded by the dicks and she's stuck in the dick sand and she can't get out.
Are there multiple dicks in the sand, or just the one dick it's like quicksand?
I mean, I'm not going to judge you if it's multiple dicks, but
right.
I would think when I have been
Did you create this scenario?
We made it up. It's
you made it up.
In
okay.
the dick sand, like, you're like, you're just like with a guy and you can't get out, and you should get out, but he just keeps pulling you back in.
Okay,
like
got
quicksand.
it. Got it.
Dick sand.
And you're married. You're a married woman.
I'm married. I've been married for, 10 years.
Congrats.
Thank you. Are you married?
Yes, I've been married 22.
Oh, yeah, shit. Okay, so
yes.
What's our secret, Hollywood?
I said my secret is staying married has become my brand.
Oh.
And I like to stick with a brand that seems to work.
As long as it's about work. She's like, I will do everything for work, and even my marriage. And I appreciate that. Honestly, my TikToks with my husband get more views, so I will stay married. Thank you very much. People love it. People love it. I just remember, like, I actually am, like, kind of oodled. I mean, I know that we've met, and it's been a few years, though. I just, like... It's some moments of what I watched, like when I was, just getting into Hollywood and stuff, like I was so obsessed with like Late Night on E, and like I just remember seeing you, and I just, it's like, I can't believe I'm sitting with you. Like, it's fucking cool. I did it.
God, okay, great.
Sorry, it's so embarrassing, but...
So you guys had your Lady Gang.
Yeah.
And you had a TV show, which I think was kind of what everybody thought when they started a podcast and might now. Now it's so saturated. Yeah. It really doesn't make, I don't even know if anyone's getting picked up to do a show. But that was always kind of my thought, like, oh, maybe this will turn into a show. And you guys really did make it turn into a show. I think yours did. And also, what was that other one with the guy that's now on 911 and the girl? They're funny. I don't know if they still have a show. Oh. They got a TV show for a minute. And then it was to the point where people were pitching shows. This is like 7 years ago. And the agents and stuff would say, the only way you're going to get a TV show is if you have a podcast first. And then you can prove that this was like a viable show.
Yeah.
And now I feel like that's not happening.
No,
one wants to hear about
what-
your podcast becoming a TV show.
Yes. And you know what, Heather? You have Lady Gang to thank for that because so here's can I tell you the whole story? Because
Yes,
it's actually kind of
please tell the
fascinating.
whole
And
story.
I know Juicy Scoopers love the Inside Hollywood.
They do. They really
Here's
do.
what's happened. Becca, after she was on Glee, could not get another acting job. It happened with a lot of the Glee cast is that, you were so famous and it was such a big show that like no one could see you as anything else but like Kitty Wilde or whoever you were. So it's like all that cast just started auditioning and it was like, no, we know her too well. We want the next ingenue. We want the next blonde girl, whatever. So she wasn't working.
Right.
I was working at Entertainment Tonight and I was miserable. I was so tired. I was so burnt out. I was like, there has got to be something else to do with my life. And I was like, I really want to own something. Becca and I were having sad salads at the 101 Cafe. We're like crying into our salads, having lunch.
What is your favorite salad?
I mean, I hate vegetables and I will avoid a salad like the plague.
Really? God, I love a salad.
You do?
What's a sad salad?
I mean, a sad salad is like any salad. I probably was having like some mixed salad.
Oh, what? So you didn't have like a favorite one that you ate when you were sad?
My favorite salad would be like French fries.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But we're having a sad salad because it's Hollywood. And I was like, we should have a talk show. We need a talk show. We're so funny. You know how every girl sits around and they're like, we're so funny. And she was like, well, no one's going to give us a talk show. We're not famous. And I was like, yeah, but I was really into Serial, the podcast.
Yes.
Like true crime. It was the first podcast that like made me download the podcast. I was like, what if we did a podcast? And she looked at me and she goes, what's a podcast? And so I was like, So I pitched it. We started the show. And on the second episode of the show, we'd had 2 episodes air. We got a call from E! We got a call from a development at E! And they were like, hey, we want to talk about this show. We'd like to produce it out as a digital series. And I was like, no, thank you. I was like, this is a television show. We're good. I don't know who the fuck I thought I was. Sorry, I don't mean to swear.
No, that's fine.
I didn't know who I thought I was, but I was like, nope, don't want a digital series. Because at the time, this was like 7 years ago, there was kind of like still a poo-poo on having a digital series or a YouTube or something like that.
Webisode.
A webisode or something because you were still like, it's for people who can't make it on TV.
Got it.
Now, webisodes is like, it's for people who want advertising dollars because that's where people put their money. But anyway, at the time...
And you want to own your own thing.
Yeah, at the time it was like, eh. So we said no, and they were like, excuse me, what? And so then for 2 years we hustled, and I was like, when we hit this many million downloads, I'm going to come back to you, and you guys are going to give us a TV show. And that's what happened. We went back, we developed the TV show with the production company, we sold the show, and everything is going well. Everything's going well, except then... and this is where I ruined podcasting to television shows, that everyone listened to our podcast and no one watched our television show. Like literally 0.00000.8% of the people who weekly listened to Lady Gang tuned in to the show on E! We had a lot of things against us. Our time slot was 11:30 p.m. on Sundays. I got to be honest, at 11:30 p.m. on Sundays, I've already like taken a Xanax. I'm asleep.
So let me tell you about that. I think it's really interesting because I've had... someone called me, and I want to say they never published the article, but it was after, who's the girl? Oh my God, Samantha Bee.
Okay.
So Samantha Bee's show, I believe, is canceled.
Yes.
And so someone called me and was like, do you think that late night hates women and against women and Hollywood against women? And I said, no, I think that women go to bed. They work, they have children, they aren't these guys that might stay up till 1 a.m. to watch late night. And that's just the fact. And
You're
I go,
so right.
And I'm like, I just think that's it. And I go, even when we were on E!
Yeah.
It was a half-hour show, and there was a time based on when you got it, that the latest that you could watch it, like we got it early because I always got the East Coast flight early, so we could watch it like 7 or 8. And I think the latest that anyone had to watch it was 11 on the East Coast, and it was done by 11:28.
Right.
Which really isn't that late, which is kind of the perfect thing. Get into bed, turn it off. Anything later than that. So, executives listening, just trust me. It's not about people hating women. It's just not. It's like knowing where the audience is. And I said this the other day to Natasha. So Natasha Leggero was on my show.
I watched.
And she's like, thank you so much for having me on. Your audience is so great. I got such a great response. Unlike a couple of these guy podcasts, and she's in the podcasting game too, but a couple of guy podcasts I did was just like awful. And I know it's not the guys' it's not the host's fault. Their audience are men, and they're never going to be into you.
Yeah.
That's just it. Like, I'm never going to listen to an ESPN podcast.
Never.
I never am. But if it was the last thing, a form of entertainment, I wouldn't get into it. I would look at the stars.
Yeah, 100%. And I also think, like, I mean, what you've done, and like even with Lady Gang, like it's cool to be a niche thing. Like I think that being born in the 80s, I was a child of the 90s. Like I came of age when it was like all or nothing celebrities. It was like George Clooney, Julia Roberts, Cher. Like you're either the biggest star in the world or you're nobody.
Right.
And I feel like now in this day and age, it's like you don't actually have to matter to everyone in the zeitgeist to be incredibly successful and popular. Like it's not an all or nothing thing. But I also think I'm layered up in my 18-step skin school. Like I do not want to be awake at 11:30 watching television. Like if I was awake at 11:30, I would probably be a better wife and have sex with my husband. But I'm too tired to do anything. I want to lay down. I want to take a sleeping pill and go to sleep.
So you had this time that didn't work.
Well, we did a season and a half. So the first season, and I work at E! Now, so I love E! But the first season, it's a lot of different people there now. But
no, I don't think it's E! I mean, I think
it's
it's exactly what you said, and it's like,
Yeah.
and our audience consumes content differently than they did 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And so that's another part of it.
So the funniest part, and I mean this with love, was like our lead-in was the Busy Phillips show. Mm-hmm. And I really enjoyed Busy Phillips on Instagram. And similarly to no one enjoying us, Lady Gang on TV, I did not enjoy her on television.
Well, I'll tell you my Busy Phillips story.
Okay.
So I met Busy Phillips when she was cast on White Chicks, which I was a writer on and I appeared on. And it was one of those days, so I had to go to Canada because I was the girl that was the sales girl. And she and the two other girls and Sean and Marlon as the White Chicks come into the store.
Right.
So that's when I met her. And, I wrote that whole scene and wrote the scene for her and everything. And we hung out in the trailer together. And I remember I'm like, so what's your story? Tell me your story. And she's like, well, I was born a small white child, and I was like, you're so funny. Like, she really started from the beginning. And so we had this like great day and we had so much fun. And then at the premiere, we had fun.
Okay.
And then don't keep in touch or anything. I don't know that she ever came on Chelsea, but I saw all the different things that she was doing, and she was on the Courtney Cox show and this and that. And then I saw that, she became quite famous for being Michelle's best friend after Heath Ledger died, and she got to be the plus one.
Right, sure.
And then she had some funny Instagram moments of being locked out of her house and all this. So she gets the show, and I'm like, yeah, I could see why E! would choose her. Mm-hmm. She's like, it's a younger, nicer, Instagram-friendly version of a blonde that we originally had, Chelsea.
Yes.
So it's like, okay. Right. And so I was like, congrats and everything. And totally, I could not get on her show. I was pitched. I think I'm funny. I could have talked about hot topics. We could have talked about whatever. So totally ignored with that. And then I think the final thing I did was I thought her show was so bad that then I did an impression of it. Mm-hmm. And I think I tagged her, and I think she was like, haha, or whatever. Yeah. So she had like a good impression of it. But it was very much just like, oh my gosh, and that type of thing. And I also think on talk shows, and I think this is kind of interesting too, and even for podcasting too. Because I was saying to my husband, I'm like, I don't know, maybe it's time that we like just do something different with this space. Yeah. And I said, but I want a table. I don't want to be in a fluffy chair wearing Indian style or having a cocktail, because I feel like after Chelsea lately, there was a bunch of talk shows that were like
Chloe's,
let's have a cocktail, let's get comfy.
Yeah.
And to me, as a stand-up and as someone that delivers material, I feel like you have to be like, get your mind in the spot to like deliver, that this isn't just a low conversation. Like, it maybe can work for a podcast. Just for me, like, so I didn't think it worked for her that they were like lounging around on a couch and having cocktails. I'm like, I think it should be a little more structured to like deliver the funny. and deliver the stories and stuff.
Yeah, and you know what, Heather? Oh my God, you're just so smart. But it's the exact same. I'm trying to hide my hands because I have a horrific spray tan hand right now, and I'm hiding them under my.
Why hide it when now you've said it? Now people want to see it.
So here it is. Okay, so here I just literally used my own spray tan from Rite Aid. Okay, so anyway, what you're saying about sleeping,
about just being too loungy for a talk show situation.
This is the same problem that happens with every celebrity that start a podcast.
Yes,
they're like, I'm just gonna hang out with my friends and like have some real talk. And I was like, no, actually, the best podcasts on the planet are highly produced. She's got a whole rundown. She's got a thing. There's sections. There's production value. Like you're actually boring. Hollywood is incredibly boring. People as in general are boring, which is why we're watching like Game of Thrones like psychos. Like we're boring. We need other things to entertain us. So sitting around just for blabbing for an hour is the most boring shit I've ever seen in my life. And some of these podcasts are unlistenable.
Well, when I was pitching Juicy Scoop for a new home recently,
I would drink this water?
Yes, that's a fresh water for you.
Thank you.
So what I would say was, I'd pitch it. I go, listen, I know a little before COVID and certainly different. Yeah. Every manager and agent convinced their star, you just have to sit on your bed and talk to your dog for an hour on Tuesday nights, and you're going to make $1 million.
Right.
And you guys paid the $1 million.
Idiots.
I literally was saying this to the network. I'm like, and you paid the $1 million.
Yes.
And
how was your return on investment?
Of the 10, maybe there's one that's hanging on, and the rest have let that expire, let it go, whatever. You didn't renew it. They didn't renew it. They realized how much work was. They got another series. They didn't keep up with this side gig. I'm like, this is my job.
Right.
If someone wants to hand me a sitcom, I'll think about it, but I'm not pursuing one. I'm not pitching shows. It's just Juicy Scoop. So, like, you might want to invest in me because I'll be Howard Stern till I'm 75.
Exactly.
So, like, what do you want to put your money in? And it's just kind of interesting to see it. And I love that you see it too. Because when you've done it a long time, it's like, I want to say, I don't want to be bitter Betty that everybody's doing it. And I was a little bit. Now I'm like, the more the merrier. You're bringing awareness. There's still people that have never downloaded a podcast. So if they go because they want to listen to Meghan Markle and they realize how that maybe isn't for them, then maybe eventually they'll make it a way to okay, what are these big good ones that people talk about? Let me listen to Joe Rogan and Juicy Scoop and Lady Gaga. Okay, let me find the good ones that have been around.
Right.
NPR, whatever. So it's like, so I kind of see it like that. And at the same time, I'm like, It also, if you are just someone that wants to do it because you do have that girlfriend across the street.
Yes.
Maybe 100 people will listen, but what a great chronicling of your life. Like if it is about motherhood or whatever, and you have it and you look back, or maybe you do it for a year and you put it away, and then a year, 2 years later, you listen to it and you're like, whoa, I just thought of a really good book I could write. So it's like, that's why
I'm sorry. I'm still steaming that Busy didn't put you on her show. I'm sorry. This whole time, I'm listening to the story. I'm agreeing with you. You're absolutely right. Meghan Markle's podcast is less than desirable. And I love Meghan, but I'm still pissed about motherfucker, that bitch. Okay.
No, but I don't know. Like it could have also been like, we're going for big stars, or hey,
I have so much pressure.
Also, E has never had me on since Chelsea Lately ended. They had me on to do Nightly Pop.
Right.
I was supposed to do 3 days.
Yeah.
And then after the first day, they told my agent that I'm fired for the 3.
What happened?
I don't know. They paid me for the 3 days. It wasn't easy, but I did get paid for it. But when I got there and the guy was like, I'm so excited that you're here. I've been trying to get you on for a while. I looked at him and I'm like, yeah, I haven't been on in 7 years. I've had 2 specials. I had podcasts. I've been pitched.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, well, I guess whoever hated me is gone now,
Right. Because the networks the executives and the people in charge, they do turn over quite frequently.
They have something. When people go like, are you banned or whatever? The banning, it can just be one person.
Right.
It doesn't, it's not like 100 people got together in a room and voted and said, we're not going to ever have Heather McDonald work in this town again. It doesn't work like that.
Right.
But there are definitely places, like I've had publicists and stuff, and or someone's come to me and been like, I want to be your publicist. And I'm like, if you can get me on The View or The Talk, then I'll hire you for 6 months because I can't get on either one of those shows.
Because they could really use you on the talk.
Because they say no every time. And then I did that as an experiment.
Yeah.
And the girl came back and she's like, yeah. And I go, do you know why?
Yeah.
Like if I was going to die tomorrow, I'd be like, there's a few things I'd like to know. Like, and this is one of them. Like, I don't know. I think it's just whatever the thing is. Someone doesn't like me on it. Someone thinks I'm too recognizable as a Chelsea lately. I don't know what it is, and I don't care anymore. I just don't care anymore because of this, because the success of this, I don't care anymore. I do love having a car pick me up.
Right.
I do like buying a new outfit.
Sure.
I like being on TV with the perfect lighting. I like watching myself that night on my DVR.
Yeah.
I kind of miss it.
Yeah.
But I'm also like accepting that it doesn't really matter anymore. And if you don't want me, it's fine.
Well, this happened to me a few years ago. So I stepped away from working. I was at Entertainment Tonight and The Insider at CBS for like over a decade. And I got to a point where Lady Gang was so big. I mean, when we were doing Lady Gang TV, which is why it's like so traumatic for me, we were getting up at 4 a.m. doing hair and makeup. We filmed it in my house, filming Lady Gang TV from 7 a.m. till noon. Then I was going into ET, doing ET, and then coming back and podcasting at night with the girls in my closet. Like, it was just an insane schedule, and I was doing so many things.
When you were doing the TV version, so you weren't using any material that you would then use for the actual podcast.
No.
It had to be separate.
Yeah,
so it was
shows
like
a week.
extra shows.
Yeah, extra shows. We had We had celebrity guests like in a bigger way on the show.
Yeah, I saw it. I remember
it was just a mess.
I thought it was like a pretty cute situation.
So
I thought it was cute. I thought it was like well lit. I thought it like made sense.
Thank you, Heather. It's crushing on TikTok right now. I started putting up the old clips of the show, and nothing's been more popular. Like, we're so viral of all these old clips.
Will you mark down? I just came across some old videos of me on Chelsea lately.
You have to put them up. People love that.
And because E took them all down.
Right.
Well, I shouldn't say this anyway. But anyway, I have a couple.
You should put them up. It's amazing. They do so well. And like, they never put our show in streaming or anything. So it's just dead. And I'm like, no one sued me yet. So I just keep putting them up.
Yeah.
Sorry. Sorry. But yeah. So anyway, when I left ET, people were like, what? My parents were like, what do you mean you're quitting your television job to then work in your basement on your podcast that we don't know what that is? Like, they looked at me like, you're losing your mind. And it's just, it sucks and you miss it. And you're like, oh, I'm not on the red carpet feeling like I'm important anymore. And all the fake shit that goes with Hollywood that actually is like really fun, like the free facials and like all that shit goes away. But being in control and never, when people are like, do you want a facial? You're like, yeah, like always.
No, and like going to those.
Like gifting suites and the free shoes and all that shit that like,
and when the Emmys come around and stuff, that was a fun time. And being on Chelsea and stuff, we did a lot of that.
Exactly.
I did like an E after show.
Right. So that kind of stuff, like you kind of miss. And then you following everyone on Instagram, which I then not blocked everyone. Muted everyone's because it was like,
makes you jealous.
I didn't have enough therapy sessions to like deal with all that. So, but when I left, like everyone was like, what are you talking about? I was like, I really believe in this. I believe I can do my own thing, that I'll have the power that when I want to take 3 weeks off during the holidays and go to an island, I will. Like, I can pre-tape the episodes. Like, just having that freedom, because I worked every Christmas, every New Year's, on my birthday, the day after I had a miscarriage. Like, every single fucking day, you had to work for someone else and you work for their brand. And I loved doing my own thing, which is why, like, I have so much respect for what you've done because, like, to be honest, like, screw those shows that won't book you. They're idiots. You're great television. And also, some of those shows, not The View, I would maybe say about the talk is not, to me, and the most interesting part, it's like they need a little fire. People are so afraid. I think people are still very afraid of women who speak their mind and are loud, and podcasting, people love it. So you're like, yes.
Well, let's see, because there's actually
an audition for the talk.
No,
Jerry's leaving.
I'm with Sony.
Okay.
And they said, and that one of the reasons I went with them is just, because I think they're great and it's just a good deal for me, but I do everything myself.
Right.
But I said, so if Sony's bothering to listen, I said, let's see. And they said, why are you thinking about going somewhere else? I said, I just think more people should know who I am.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't get why nobody knows who I am. And they were like, okay, we want to do that for you. So then I talked to their PR person. We'll see. So far, nothing's come.
Okay.
So no anybody has asked me, and I said, you could pitch me to Tamron Hall, you could pitch me to Jay Hutt to talk about women in podcasting and how to do it and why. Like I said, like the good things about it and that you shouldn't be intimidated and like, but also to be honest, like you're not going to make money unless you have a certain amount of people listening, but it can still be something that just like journaling or posting on, like it still can be a great way of getting your creativity juices going and all that. And so far, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to pick, but like I'm a little bit jaded about that stuff. So I'm kind of like, hey, if nothing happens, I still like this deal.
Yes.
Because my people can still listen and I still do my extra juicy scoop on Fridays and there's still all of that.
Yeah.
But I'm just so like nobody's ever going to I'm just very unlikely to believe anybody's song and dance about what they can do for me because it's like I've just done it so long and and that's why I love having my own thing because I'm like, and then talking about like the Balenciaga thing, I was like, I'll talk about it and I don't really care.
Right.
And there's been times even when I've like censored myself that I'm not going to censor myself anymore about. I'm like, oh, isn't it interesting that we can now talk about this thing that we couldn't talk about 18 months ago. Now we can talk about it. Oh, now we're allowed.
Right.
Now we're not evil, awful people that thought differently from you. Now you're like, I just won't. But the people that thought you were evil talking about it, they'll never go, hey, I was wrong.
Of course
But
not.
they just won't attack what you're saying now.
Right.
They'll just be like, oh, okay.
You were right. Oh,
Yeah.
Let me eat this crow.
Yeah. It's okay. And that's okay. It's okay.
I mean, I think it's great. I think what you've done is amazing. And it's a testament to just working hard and being in control of your own thing and that it's pretty ugly most of the time, but like actually has a ray of sunshine.
Being that it's been the three of you.
Yeah.
Was there ever a time, because throuples are tough.
Yeah.
Whether it's sexual or not.
Whew.
And has there ever been a time where you didn't think that you could power through as a throuple?
Yes.
A throuple. Throuple. Not a throuple.
A throuple? That's
throuple
like a 13 people.
Trouble and a throuple. No, a throuple. Businesswomen, three of you.
Yeah, I'll be honest. We were just about to celebrate 7 years. And for 6 years, people used to ask this question all the time. We'd be like, we don't really fight. We're like brutally honest with each other. And like whatever happens, we just nip it in the bud and like it goes. And then we went on tour. And this year was a year of just maniac level Keltieisms. So we had like multiple really big brand deals and podcasting crazy. Becca had a new baby via surrogate. So the baby like came into our world in February. She took 4 weeks off and then it was like go time to prep for this tour.
So tell me what the tour was. When did it start?
So we started in September. We wrote our second book.
Okay.
And
where can
the book is called Lady Secrets. It's really freaking good. It's all these essays about us of like when I went on The Bachelor to get a hosting career and it didn't work. I got kicked out on the second night because I guess I'm not that desirable. And like all these like really funny essay stories, kind of like your books.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And then we also have community secrets. So we asked the Lady Gang, we had a hotline, 1-844-SEXY-LADY. And people called in and they were like, I pretend to fall asleep because I hate my in-laws.
Like
I catfished my husband into marrying me like by pretending to be someone shitty online. Like just weird stuff. And we put it together. It's awesome. And so we did this big book tour because we were supposed to do a book tour for our first book. It all got canceled because of COVID. And we're like, we will be rock stars on the bus. So we did the whole thing.
Now, how did you do all this? Because you were just asking me how I do my tour. And I've always toured, gone to clubs,
like
starting
Friday,
over
Saturday.
like 12 years ago is kind of what I started headlining, 12, 13 years ago, around then. And I would book a weekend at a club.
Right.
Like a Thursday, and then I'd come home on a Sunday or whatever.
Yeah.
And then when Chelsea lately ended, I'd do it a little bit more. But my husband and I were always like, I really don't want to go more than twice a weekend. But sometimes they'd be back-to-back weekends. Sure. Sometimes it'd be 3. But I'd really try to only do 2 weekends a month. What do I mean?
Yeah.
Two weekends a month. And so with this last one, I'm like, I'm going to do a live Juicy Scoop tour where I'm not going to record it. I'm not going to post it. It's going to be this great thing. I want Annie, who produces my show, to come with me. And but what I originally told my agent was like, but I want to do it like a real tour where I'm like gone for 2 weeks.
Right.
I never said a bus.
Yeah.
But I thought like where I could go Wednesday one city, Thursday another, Friday, Saturday, maybe have like a night or two to relax, but then do like 5 more and just be gone for like 2.5 weeks.
Right.
Don't even come home in between. Have the outfits, get the routine going.
Yeah.
And I don't even know how you book things. I know my agent works really hard, but it didn't make sense to get the big cities.
Yep.
And then I thought, oh yeah, maybe it would be hard to get a bunch of people to come out on a Wednesday. I don't know, whatever.
It is. Yes.
So we did it.
Or how about a Monday in Phoenix?
So like, okay, I want to hear about yours. So the way we did it was we would do 2 or 3 cities in a weekend.
Yeah.
And then, but we did it over September, October, November, and we would have some time to come home and we'd have weekends off. Now it's done.
Yeah.
So I never had that tour thing, but you guys actually got a bus.
We had a bus.
Did you have a tour guide person that came with you the whole time?
Well, we have a very senior producer of Lady Gang who oversees everything, and she came on the bus with us. And then we had also an assistant who came on the bus, and then we had a tour manager that was working remotely, like advancing the cities and getting what you need in the dressing room and what kind of lighting you need. And then we had a trailer full of merchandise and our whole setup and our brand setups, and we literally hauled that shit around
So
America
you had a
by
bus
ourselves.
and a trailer, and you slept on the bus.
We slept on the bus. We did not have the budget for hotels.
Did you have the bus wrapped saying Lady Gang?
I wish. It's $40,000. That was my dream. I tried to get a brand to pay for it. I was like, literally, it can be like waxyourbutthole.com plus the Lady Gang tour. Like, please just give me $40,000. No, it's very expensive. The bus is very expensive. But so we slept on the bus.
And then what kind of venues did you do?
So we really, thanks for bringing it up. It's like really traumatic. We really fucked ourselves. So we normally were doing like city wineries, which is like 200, 300,000 seats.
Yeah.
But
then this one, I just graduated to theaters. But still, I was conscious of how big the theater could be.
Yes.
I think the biggest one was Wilbur at like 1,100.
Yes.
But most of them were not. And if they're a little bit smaller, like a 500, then I did 2 shows in the night.
Yes. And that's probably because you've been touring for 15 years and amazing.
Yeah.
So we also played the Wilbur.
Yeah.
And I think we did about 400, 500 tickets. It's like an 1,100 seat theater. So that's super embarrassing. They closed off the top. I mean, we got placed in, we sold out the Gramercy in New York, which is 400 seats. That's perfect for us. But we had a bunch of theaters that were 800 seats. And we're like, well, even if we sell 600 tickets, it'll be fine. And then everyone and their mother went on tour this fall. Both of us were on tour. So many artists. And people are still not really leaving their houses. And so
You know what I also noticed is even if we were sold out,
people didn't come.
they just decided not to come that night.
Yeah.
And I think it's a different vibe. Also, I mean, my audience are mothers. Some are older and some are young that want to stay home. And I just think the day comes and they're like, I'm not feeling it, or my friend can't go. And we'd always encourage that Juicy Scooper to come alone.
Yeah.
Because we're like, you will be sitting, you will meet
friends.
so many other people.
Yeah.
But so here, I did sell it out and there'd be empty seats in front.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God, I never saw that before COVID.
Yeah, it's really weird. So it was there was so much pressure on us. So then the sales were fine. I'm just going to say they were fine. They were COVID fine, I guess. The book sales were pretty dismal. We just had a first book come out. It made the New York Times list, made the USA Today list. It made the Toronto Star list. It was really successful, which is why they wanted us to write a second book. And people were like, we don't need another book from you. So the book sales were really tragic. And so it was all of the most negative things were happening to us at the same time while we were together, while I ripped Becca Tobin away from her newborn. And
so how much time was spent all together to hit all these 15 cities?
So we had 3 weeks.
Oh, okay.
And by the end of it, Jack and Becca were like, I'm just going to fly into the city. I'm not riding the bus with you. And it got to the point where it was, once we didn't make the New York Times list and I had an epic meltdown on the street in Atlanta and cried, then we could laugh after that. And so then from that point on, we kind of had fun, but it was just really stressful. And it's I think you feel the same way, which is why I really admire what you're doing, is you actually really care about your fans. For me, I don't want we call them the lady gangers. Like, we don't want those girls to come and not have the best show of their life. We want the best merch, the best freebies, the best screen stuff. Like, we want them to like really have a good time and meet friends and like, you know, don't spend the money and then just be like, oh, that was okay. Like, you want it to be amazing.
Right.
And so we put so much pressure on ourselves. And like, I actually really care if people walk out and they're like, yeah, it was fine. Like, no, I need you to have a 5-star experience. I want you to love this. And just doing like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday shows, like, it's too much. We needed time to like live and like experience a bad Chick-fil-A or something. I mean, I don't know Chick-fil-A, but experience like the town, life or something, because what are we talking about? You know what I mean? There's nothing new going on. And so it was pretty bad. We had a really rough.
I do want to say though, I mean, I admire your honesty about it, and that is life, and to reflect on it. Yeah. And I think it's interesting because I know like a lot of people do the the live podcast shows and stuff. And I have said, as someone who's a stand-up who brings another stand-up with me to do it, I was like, what are these other shows doing? Because I'm like, besides me, like for like 12 hours before, I'm putting in all these hot topics and doing all this stuff. And then I'm saving juicy stories that I only will tell there. And like, I do think I did a great job. Yeah. But I'm a perfectionist about it. Right. Like, I'm not a perfectionist about my home. I'm not a super neat person. I'm not like perfectionist about other cooking or anything. But the show I am. Right. So it's like if I wasn't happy, I'd be bummed. I was happy in the end. I was very happy with the result of it. But like, it is a lot harder than people think.
It's so much work. And it really like, just PSA to everyone that listens and loves a podcast. Podcasters, shockingly, are just humans. Whoa. I know, it's revolutionary. But like, we say shit that comes out wrong, and we maybe don't think it comes out wrong in that moment, but then listening back like 3 weeks later, you're like, oh, I don't know if I should have said that. Or we also like need sleep, and we're not perfect, and like, maybe you didn't like the psychic that we brought on. Like, maybe you don't like the color green when you made a sweatshirt in green. Like, I'm sorry. I am a human being on this planet. Like, we are doing our best.
Yeah.
We are, like people, we have a segment on our show called Good Week, Bad Week. And people will like DM and be like, I heard your bad week, and I just want to let you know that cucumbers are not a vegetable. They're a fruit. I heard you talking about like, I mean, not that, but like, just like getting after us for the stupidest shit. And I was like, hi. I don't know how to be an adult. I'm trying to keep myself alive. I can't even keep a plant alive. That's why I don't have children. Like, done. Like, let's just give me grace.
What was the final show? Was the final show?
We finished the show in Denver, Colorado, which we flew to.
At the end of September?
At the end of... in mid-November.
Okay.
So we had...
Oh, so you did have a break.
We had bus, and then we had... Yeah, those ones were fine. We had bus, and then we had Phoenix, LA, and Denver that we flew to like 3 weeks later.
Oh, you got rid of the bus.
Yeah, we got rid of the bus in Houston. Houston was our last bus show, and it was like... Literally, you should have been on the street after the show, everyone, because I was like, do you need a rack for your clothing? Here you go. Do you need like some bedding? Like, I was just giving away pillows off the bus because I was like, I planned this whole tour so perfectly down to a T. Where are you staying? What are you doing? And then we got to like 3 days before last date, and Becca looks at me and she goes, how are we getting all this shit home? And I was like, actually never thought about that. So we
had the extra merch and stuff? And
everything that was left over, like the flower baskets and the back. We had director's chairs. And
because you brought like a set.
We had it all delivered to Chicago for the first show. And then we ended up in Houston. And I was like, how do I get this home? So I had to hire a guy with a van to like drive it for 47 hours. I have a giant vagina chart because we did this like name that lady part like game. Yeah. So we pulled up this giant vaginas that was named 1 through 15. And then we had 3 straight guys come on stage, and like they get to win merch if they could name things correctly, which by the way, literally nobody knows where anything but the asshole is, which says so much about so many things. Anyway, so we had this giant vagina, and I'm like, how am I getting the giant vagina back to LA? Like, you can't fly with a giant vagina. Anyway, so, I mean, you probably could. We didn't. I hired a guy. Anyway, it was a disaster. I'm so glad it's over. I've never had more tears. I've had so much therapy about it. We're good now. Lady Gang will continue, but I think the fans picked up on it because they're like, when I announced, I just went back to entertainment news. So I started on E! News just as a correspondent, and people were like, "Does this mean what I think it means? Lady Gang is over?" And I was like, "Oh shit, they picked up on the tension." No, we're fine. Lady Gang's fine. We're gonna be okay.
And so you now the three of you get together and you do one show a week, or
we do 2 shows a week.
Okay.
And so sometimes Becca lives in Austin now. She'll come to LA and we'll sit in our studio and do a bunch of episodes, or we'll do them on Zoom,
Yeah.
And we don't really have guests anymore. Like, we just kind of do us. Every once in a while we'll have a guest, which, by the way, you need to come on.
Yeah, totally.
So, like, every once in a while we'll have someone if they're funny and great, but like, we just got burned by having like actors who are like, I'm an actor, just ask me about my acting. And you're like, boring. So
Yeah.
I would just rather have like reality stars, Bachelor people, like that kind of stuff. A psychic.
Yeah.
We have a really good money episode coming out after the holidays from this amazing TikToker called Your Rich BFF, and she tells you all the things to do with your money so that you can be rich.
I love that.
Yeah, that
That's
kind
the
of stuff really
that's
helps.
Like really important, and especially for women, and in a way that women can understand.
Yeah.
Because
Yes,
it's like
we do a lot of that.
The amount of times that someone's boyfriend tried to explain the stock market or crypto to you, and you just are like,
Yeah.
But if you can get someone to,
I'm like, hey, get this credit card because in 1 year you'll have enough points to fly to Tahiti. Like, that's like what I need to know.
Like, actually, my son, he's 20 and he is a finance major, and he explains stuff better than my husband can to me. And so he's like, Mom, this is why you should do this. And, he's like, well, you could invest this yourself. I go, well, why don't you just do it?
Yeah. Ooh.
I'm like, I trust you more. Like, at least I know it's not going to go, like, it's not going to disappear.
Right,
if it
right,
doesn't make that much money, who cares?
Right,
but,
right.
like,
Right.
fine. If you want to, really take this little chunk of money and see what you can do with it.
Ooh.
And, because
that.
it never really interests me, and it's always kind of scares me.
so
But
scary.
I know that it's important. So I love that.
Yeah.
Tell me about your other show that you created. This
I'm
is
just
exciting.
doing lots of things.
So tell me about Superfan. Is it available to watch now?
No. So Superfan's a show format that I created. I sold it with my partner Jody a couple years ago to CBS. We filmed it in April. It's going to air Actually, wait. I can't tell you when it's going to air. It's going to air early 2023.
Okay, great. On CBS.
On CBS primetime. And it's a music series. We have 6 episodes. And my husband's music manager. And if I had any talent, I would be in a band 100%. Like, my only talent was like sleeping with guys in bands, but like, I have no musical talent and I'm tone deaf, but I've always wanted to live that band lifestyle. Hence why we got the tour bus. So it's called Superfan.
Wait, I also want to say, if you were to go back, was the tour bus not a wise idea? Would have been better
There's
if
so
you
much
guys would have
pressure.
flown just to
Yeah,
like hotels and like.
What we should have done is hired someone to drive the trailer to each city, and we should have flown and been in nice hotels, because it's like, you can't poop on a tour bus. I pooped my pants on like the 3rd day of tour. It was disgusting. Heather, your face. No.
Wait, for real?
I know.
Like,
yes.
like a load in your underwear.
I'm not supposed to eat gluten, and we were in fucking somewhere in Ohio. There was nothing but a Jimmy John's. We all ate sandwiches. I was like, I know that my stomach's gonna get upset, but I didn't know how upset. And we were wearing these pink sweatsuits, and Jack made 3 pink sweatsuits just for the 3 lady gang. We did black for like everyone else that wanted to buy them. We're in black, so we had 3 special sweats. And I was like, we're trying to go to Target or something to get something. And I was like, can we hurry up? Jax takes so long to get ready. She's never ready on time. But can we go? I'm gonna poop my pants. And then I was like, no, I am going to poop my pants. I walked out. I picked up a cardboard box from beside the trailer, and I ran into the corner, but I didn't make it in time. I pooped all over my sweatpants. I had to take them off. Becca videoed me the whole time. She played it at the shows for everyone to watch, and it was fucking terrible.
That's the lemonade out of the lemons.
Anyway.
That's the cherry on the shit ice cream.
It really
got a
is.
little something out of it.
So anyway, Superfan is back to CBS. Don't listen to that part. Superfan is like essentially, so the show essentially is like Shania Twain. I'm the biggest Shania Twain fan. I grew up in Canada. Shania Twain comes on. She's on the show. 5 of her biggest fans. We've scoured the country, and they all compete to be named the #1 superfan of Shania Twain through musical challenges, through trivia, through guessing what Shania would do in a situation. Shania performs. The fans do an epic lip sync. America votes, and then we crown the #1 superfan, and the superfan gets this like once in a lifetime thing. Like, we had Gloria Estefan on the show, who's incredible, and just like, I want her to be my mom.
Yes.
Her prize is like all this stuff. You get the conga from the conga video. You get this like giant portrait, and then you get to like go to her house. She's like, you're gonna come to Miami. You're gonna come to my house. You can pick which house.
Like
She's got
right
two.
on the water, yeah.
Vero Beach or Miami Beach, come to my house. I'm going to cook you dinner. You're going to have dinner with the whole family. Like, so the prizes are like LL Cool J's on it and his
The prizes are really for a Superfan.
Yeah.
Everything you'd want. Yeah. The
prize,
experience.
Like, LL Cool J's like, I'm going to pick you up in LA in one of my cars. We're going to drive down the Pacific Coast Highway. I'm going to play you track by track my new album before anyone else hears it. And I'm going to tell you the story behind each song.
Now, do the cameras follow that or no?
They will.
Okay.
But eventually, but we're not airing yet. So
Yeah.
when they air, we definitely, and then there'll be a little update in the next season. Hopefully.
I love that.
This
And
one I
then-
have good feeling about a season 2.
And
Lady
then
Gang TV.
when does Superfan podcast version come out?
I mean, that's such a good idea, Heather. Do you have time in your life to maybe produce that out?
Sure.
And, make that a thing. I have enough jobs. So I had no jobs.
Yes.
And then I was like, oh, I better get creative and make some jobs. So
Yeah.
now I have too many jobs again, which is what I like, but it also feeds my mania. So I have to maybe calm down a little bit. So I'm going to have no new jobs.
Okay. I don't think it would actually work, to be honest. Not for TV.
I think that
It could be a fun thing to do if, like, YouTube wanted to
Yeah.
do it. It would have to be a platform that has podcast consumers on
Yes.
it, and I don't think that's regular TV.
Right.
But I think Facebook Live or YouTube, listen to me, I think it would be good for them.
It would be
to
really
do it.
cute.
And then, and you have
Right, you have
the
the
Burt Kreischer,
right.
you have the Lady Gang,
Right,
you have
you
Someone for
guys,
Me,
yeah.
you have a crime person,
Right, you have
like
Crime
the,
Junkie.
yeah, or the
You
My
get the
Favorite
Smartless
Murder,
guys.
yeah,
Yeah,
the Smartless
exactly.
guys, and you have like 10 of them, Dak Shepard, whatever,
Yeah.
and
That would be really cute.
yeah,
It's a really fun format, and actually my highlight of my year was that I got to go to this thing called MIPCOM in France, is where you go when you have a show format and you get to sell it all over the world. So I get to sit for 2 days and I met with every country in the world and their television stations, and we already sold Superfan in 2 countries and have a third on the way. So
This
there'll be
is so
Superfan
great.
Italy, Superfan Greece, Superfan Australia. And so for me, I'm really only making shows that are formats because that allegedly is how you get rich.
Yeah.
So I'm when people are like,
Great.
we should do a reality show, I was like, no. How can we make this a competition show that also works in India?
and Ireland,
You know what I mean? So that's my new goal.
Good for you. You're
I just-
smart,
you know,
girl.
We're
Now, when
hustling.
you have these other huge successes
Yeah.
that could possibly happen to you,
Yeah.
is there ever a part of you that's like, there may come a time where I'm like,
out of Lady Gang.
I'm done with Lady Gang, or do you make a commitment to each other as a throuple podcasting trio? We will never stop doing Lady Gang, no matter how many kids someone has, no matter how many millions another person has. We'll never stop. Or does each year or two, you guys have a sit down and say, what are our goals? Do you have anything like that?
It's such a good question, and I will bring it up in therapy tomorrow. Thank you for prefacing that. I don't know. I think there's an end for everything, but I don't feel like we're anywhere close to it. And my whole thing is I just turned 40, and I'm I really have this goal for myself that's Freedom 45. I see myself at 45, having these formats, working around the world, having the podcast, and not being on television. I would like to get a neck lift. I would like to hide in, take my husband to an island and live far away from people and just have goats and raise my own animals and things like that. So podcasting is the thing you can do from anywhere.
Right.
So you'd be stupid to give that up because TV is so fickle. There's seasons
Yeah.
where you can't get anything made on TV, and then there's seasons where you're oh wow, look at all these networks that are mad that I'm on the other network. That's a blessing, But
And also, if there's another pandemic.
right, it's
Yeah.
nothing was better than being a podcaster in the pandemic.
Yeah.
Whew, that Coca-Cola money, people were pulling out of television, giving it to the podcasts.
Yeah.
But I don't think we're there yet. I think this 2023 is going to be a year where we really
Do you
pull
think
back.
you'll ever go on tour again with the Lady Gang?
I never want to go on tour again. I'm never writing another book, and I will never tour again. But I would do what you did. I do fly out dates and go 1-2, but it's just I actually hate people. I don't like even being around other people. My husband is basically mute, which is why we've stayed married. I don't like being around people. So being around people 24/7 was really hard for me.
Okay.
So I don't like I mean, I like the fans and I like meeting them, but that's also like, oh my God, what if I'm disappointing? What if I don't smile? What if I look tired? What if I'm yawning? Like, I don't want to yawn when I meet someone. Then they go home and they're like, Keltie, yawn. That's so much pressure.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Now, you mentioned Shawn Mendes.
Oh, Mendes. Well, I was
Shawn
talking
Mendes.
about touring. So, like, it's very cool that you were doing like double shows in cities and stuff because no one can sell a ticket right now. Like Taylor Swift is basically the only person that can sell a ticket. I know firsthand, there was a client that a friend of mine worked with very closely, a huge major artist that has hit songs on the radio. And they put up a show at an arena and it sold 5 tickets. Like the first 24 hours when you put up a show are like you're
literally
an
1, 2,
arena,
3, 4, 5.
5 tickets, and they had to cancel the show. Like an arena, like what you thought an arena tour would do. Like, I mean, I think it wasn't an arena like the Bombers, but it was like, one of those hometown Charlotte arenas
10,000.
or whatever. Yeah, 10,000. And because I was crying all the time, like about our tour tickets selling, like, because not every city was a home run. And I'd be like, oh my God, I'm such a failure. And my husband, who works in the music business, was like, let me tell you a story about a tour that we just had go out and like 5 tickets and had to cancel. And that did make me feel better. I mean, is it true? Maybe he was lying, probably. But just the ability to sell tickets is so hard. And I was saying Shawn Mendes canceled his tour. And like, listen, I'm a huge mental health advocate. My brother is bipolar. And I've talked a lot about this on the podcast and my struggle with him throughout my whole life. And like, I if it was for mental illness, I believe that. But I do believe a lot of these tours are getting canceled just because people can't sell tickets. Maybe mixed with the stress of that, because that's got to be really hard in your mental illness. But everyone went on tour this fall. And there's only so much money in people's pockets and nights available during the week to go see a show.
Yeah, I do think that's true. And then, so I just saw something. I don't know if it's true because somebody said it to me and it was like a weird publication I heard of.
Yeah.
But that Shawn Mendes is dating his female chiropractor.
I saw that too. I just love.
That's just such a weird story. First of all, I'm one of my kinks.
Yeah.
Which I don't think it's been diagnosed as a kink, but I think
Yeah.
it should. It's watching chiropractic videos.
Wow.
I mean, I'll settle in and I will watch like 10, 15 minutes.
Wow. It doesn't freak you out?
No, but
It's like the Dr. Pimple Popper for you.
But I don't like pimple popping.
Yeah.
I like just.
Do you go to the chiropractor?
As much as I love to watch a chiropractic video, I have a fear of my biggest fear in life is being a quadriplegic or being paralyzed.
Okay.
So I kind of don't want to fuck with it as much as I love it. Love watching it. I went to it once about a year and a half ago to my favorite chiropractor, watching videos. He's really cute, OC chiropractor.
Okay.
And he did a great job. But
You're scared. Did you get paralyzed from the chiropractor?
Believe me, there's a story or two out there.
Okay, sure.
Not from the OC chiropractor, not from anybody.
Yeah.
And I mean, more like I want to ask him, how do you know what to do? Like, you feel on your fingertip like a pop? Like, I more like want to know, how do you know? Because I have also grew up self-cracking, okay? Oh. And
self-cracking? There's
like
a word
I could
for
self-crack.
It. Oh, wow.
And then when my kids were little,
you'd crack them.
I would crack them.
Fun.
And then one day, one of them was like, I don't want to do that weird thing that we do anymore. And it felt like very weird to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to do that thing we're doing anymore, Mommy.
But they can do it. Like, they can go, I have teenage boys and they can go like that.
Yeah,
and I'm so jealous because I can't do my neck or anything. But anyway, I could see how you could be attracted to your chiropractor is my point. But it's kind of a physical thing.
Yeah, it's intimate.
And someone's like, if this was like a 35-year-old male chiropractor and a 26-year-old female or whatever, not that it was like a big age, and then they started dating, people would be like, was this grooming? What did this sick fuck try to do? Like, it's just so funny when it's the other way around. And then also people don't think that he's entirely straight, so they thought that was interesting.
Shawn Mendes is, and I just want to say this for everyone, I've met him and interviewed him many times. He's lovely, and he truly is just Canadian. And I mean that with love. Like, Listen, I don't know.
That is so funny. That could be your new game show. Is he gay or just Canadian?
I think it's like, I mean, it's not my business, but whether he is or he isn't. But like, I grew up in Northern Canada, and so I understand like the kindness and softness that comes with, you're either like a fucking hockey player or you're Shawn Mendes growing up and you're in band. Like I've dated those guys. Like you're just artsy.
Yeah.
And it's like so weird. Like my best friend Jeff is kind of similar, and he's just so nice. And he's just like, when you see him on the carpet, he's like, hi, how are you doing? And you're like, oh, and you're like, you know, you're used to like 2 Chainz rolling up and like grunting at you. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know. I think he's just lovely. But I think that if he's getting it on with a chiropractor, I will say it's the right ages, because if she's that age,
I don't know what age she is.
Yeah, I mean,
she looked cute. There's a photo of her cracking him. And so I don't know. Can you look up their age?
When you're that famous, there's no one around you. I was actually just in Mexico City a few weeks ago, and with my husband, with one of his clients, and he played a festival for like 100,000 people in the middle of Mexico City. It was massive, and he's a huge artist, and it's really crazy because like, it's very much that scene in the Bradley Cooper, Lady Gaga, Star is Born, when like Bradley finishes the concert and they put him in the black car and then he's like all alone and it's silent.
And she's 50.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's
Wait,
a lot.
what?
24?
And she's 50?
From Fresno.
50. I'm 50 years old. Remember that?
Oh my God, let me crack my back just now thinking about what?
I feel like this can't be true. Anyway,
okay.
Point being is that when you're that famous, you're very isolated.
Yeah.
You spend a lot of time alone in hotels, to the car, to the bus, to the car, to the
Yeah.
hotel, to the plane. And you're like, it's just your little entourage around you.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to meet new people unless you're having some handler of yours be like, go find me a girl in the audience tonight. Or, because you can't get with fans. They're going to tell everyone. So it's like,
Yes.
you get limited on like, it has to be another star set up by your publicist or your DMs. Or if you're Sean and you're just like a nice guy, who are you meeting? You're meeting the people that are doing your catering, your stylist, assistant, and the chiropractor. Like, it makes sense to me.
Okay, so your new job at E.
Yeah.
Will you're not doing red carpet anymore, or you are?
I am.
For like a Oscars, you'll be there.
Yeah, so I'm doing, it's really cool. I took this position and they were like, what do you want to call yourself? I'm like, chief correspondent. And as the chief correspondent, I get to decide so basically like I get a month schedule of like who's coming to town, who's doing press. And then I can say, oh, like I want to do this Will Smith event. I want to do this Harrison Ford event. I want to do this sit down with Mandy Moore. Like I can pick which interviews I would like to do and then pass on like the Dancing with the Stars red carpet. No offense to Dancing with the Stars. I'm good.
You're just a little over that.
I've done it. I did it for 10 years.
Yeah.
Like it's just not, I want to sit down with like, I want it
And
to
ask
really
real
be like,
questions and like, have a minute.
like a moment.
Yeah.
You know? Hard to watch
I
sometimes.
think really nobody really gets canceled unless there's like actual like prison time. And even then it has to be for something pretty heinous and it has to be for pretty long for you not to come back. Everyone seems to come back. I think all this cancellation stuff was
Right.
like a bunch of bullshit because everyone comes back.
Yeah.
And then except for like a Matt Lauer. And with a
Right.
Matt Lauer, no offense, Matt Lauer, you're totally replaceable.
Well, that's the thing.
You're not a musician that writes incredible songs that we
Right.
all sing and dance to for the last 30 years.
Right.
You're not an incredible actor like a Will Smith that just
Yeah.
can like, you know,
Right.
you see a scene and you instantly cry because
Yes.
he's so good at his craft.
Yeah.
You were a decent looking guy that had, I think morning and daytime TV is an easy job. I think it's a pretty fucking easy job out of the jobs that are there.
Right.
And so when it became this and at the height of the time and everything,
Yeah.
it was like goodbye. No one's
Yeah.
going to not watch our show because Matt Lauer's gone. He's of a man of a certain age,
Right.
all of that. So I think people like that probably will never come back
Right.
to any capacity. Could he start a podcast out of the Hamptons? Sure.
Yeah.
People might listen. I don't think he should bother.
Right.
Because I don't think people will want to come on and be interviewed by him.
Right.
Enjoy your money. Do something
Yeah.
else with your time. Be a
It's
grandpa.
kind of like
whatever.
the Chris Harrison of it all.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, okay, I'm canceled. I'm not going to like try to yet. I mean, maybe it's too soon. I'm not trying to like do my redemption tour and host another show or start a podcast or whatever it is. I'm just going to sit here with all my money.
Let it sit.
Yeah.
You got a lot of money.
Yeah. Just enjoy that money.
You know, I've met him several times, and I kind of think his situation was a very much of a sign of the times and a little like an unfortunate situation that he put himself in. He wasn't even supposed to do that interview.
I know.
And the whole
he's
thing,
a good guy, so you're just like, oh my god.
and he didn't
stop
know,
talking.
and he's a dad. He had kids in college. It like again came on a day where you're like, you know what, I am gonna tell the truth. Like, I am gonna say how I really feel. And it's like, and it was just at that time, and then. But I think it's all fine, and I think if he does come back with something, fine. But he may not want to.
Right.
Like that was a lot of time and travel. He had to go to Europe. He had to go to all these places. And now he's, I don't know if he's engaged.
He's engaged.
I don't know if he's married, but I've met her and she's great.
Lauren's awesome.
And his ex-wife is great. Like they all get along.
Right.
The kids all get along. Like the kids are good and good. Like if I was him, I'd be like, who cares? Like just do your thing.
Right.
And then if in like a couple years you want to do something that maybe is in the same line of like, maybe doing something dating with older people. I don't know if that would ever be a hit, if people would want to watch that. But like, definitely I think The Bachelor as a show is definitely not as popular because that wasn't the only change. You know, they tried to do a lot of other changes. They had a bisexual girl come and, you know, they're trying to do this
at
thing,
one time.
trying to get to this time. Yeah, the two bachelorettes, and they're trying to like change it up and everything. And so I think, like, I don't know. It's still probably a big enough hit that you wouldn't want to get rid of it.
Of course.
And I don't think it's such an expensive show, like with a million actors, but it definitely doesn't have the spark. And I feel like the people that were super into it, that stuck with it, like me.
Yeah.
Like I was already married the first season, and I watched it and talked about it the whole time. And just recently, and I was even on it. That was probably the last season I was on. I was on, what's her name? Katie's. I was on Katie's season, and that was a COVID season.
Right.
And we were in this resort that was like not extremely attractive. Anyway, so I watched it because of that, but I really haven't watched it since.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like people in my world are watching it either. Like I don't feel like as many people are
switched
talking.
over to Housewives. We got more Housewives, and now we're just living in Housewives.
Yeah, and I'm like, and then I thought, what about all these people that went on Bachelor as you had to get
Keltie
to get a jump start of a career, which I don't think it's a bad idea.
Yeah,
I feel like that
is over too.
That's over too, and all those people got podcasts, and I feel like the only people that are surviving
it's like
in that world,
Caitlyn and Nick Viall.
Yeah, exactly. Caitlyn and Nick Viall. Maybe there's a couple, like Ashley and her husband.
Jared,
they kind of have their thing cooking. Yeah. And then there's maybe like, but I really don't know of anybody else that's like, there were so many iHeart ones and so many combos of people. And like, what else are you talking about? And then they do the Paradise, and it's like, there's just so many of them that's like,
it's too much.
Yeah.
It's too much. And, you know, it was back in the day when I went on, it was 16 years ago.
Yeah.
And I had an agent that was like, if you want to get into television, you have to go on The Bachelor. And I was like, great. I will do whatever I'm told. And at that time, it was like Ali Fedotowsky had like built her big career and all these people. Like it was really a thing that could happen. And now I think they become influencers on Instagram, which no shame on that game because you can make a fuck ton of money. But it's just really hard. It's hard, like I was saying before, it's hard to cut through in any genre right now because there's so much content and everyone's so niche.
Saturated.
You know what I mean? Not everyone has to watch this thing at this time on television. They can be like, I don't even want to have a TV. I only want to read maps. Fine. Read a vintage map as your hobby. I don't know. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like you can do whatever you want, even if it's weird, you know? Like, I'm just going to do the small things TikToks. Like, all I'm going to do is watch tiny little mini plates of food in mini houses on TikTok. Like, that's a whole thing.
Right.
You're watching chiropractic videos.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I didn't even know that was possible.
What a fucking weirdo. Yeah. Well,
but like, I'm sure chiropractic OC is like really happy. He has more followers now, and he's probably like, oh shit, I'm crushing it.
Yeah, and cracking it.
But
Anyway, I so enjoyed you. Thank you for the honesty. Tell everybody where they can find everything.
Well, I'd love if you don't listen to Lady Gang, hop on over to Lady Gang. We have new episodes every Tuesday and Thursday. And I'm just at Keltie on social media. And I'm mediocre. So come on over and hang out with my mediocreness. But the podcast is really good.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.